Hello and welcome to a fantasy preview of the EPL Season 16. It's the latest of the Pro League tournaments hosted in Malta. And today I'm joined with Emilus, Brandon and Freddie. And we're going to just basically discuss the tournament, then take a look at our fantasy teams, which you'll be able to join, and there'll be a link to that in the description. So at the end I'll go through how you can join that. But let's kick it off with the group, really. Is anyone got a clear favourite for this?
Navi.
Navi. We all agree on Navi.
Navi.
Off the bat.
Yeah.
And there's no fear here that Simple's not playing. That's the other thing that is worth looking
It's not
at.
head tricks. So
I mean, like, even if they did have him, he'd still
Yeah.
probably win.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's any way that for me this group is a clear Navi first, and then you have Nip and Vitality in a second and third spot.
How
When-
dare you?
I don't think Fnatic for me is a dark
Endpoint.
horse team in this group.
I think the reason why they're dark horse is we just haven't seen much from them. Like, we
Yeah,
still
that's it,
don't
yeah.
know what to expect from them. And like, this is one of the games where it's like, if they do badly in this tournament, we know what to expect from them going in the future. But they seem like they've actually been doing pretty well. Like, they've got a good roster.
Yeah, and it'll be on LAN as well, and there's players there that have got like a mix of experience as well in that roster with LAN, and it'll be interesting to see them all come together. Obviously, Copenhagen Flames notoriously do quite well on LAN, so Nicodemus, Roy, like that. I'll be interested to see how they perform.
I think with the RMR qualifier where they've played recently as well, a lot of their stats are quite inflated at the minute because of some of the teams they're playing against. So it's also very difficult to see where they actually are going to be against some of these tier 1 teams. But we say tier 1 teams and everyone in the group has to play Endpoint. So
I mean,
I think-
Endpoint, you said, like, they played against the Fnatic in the RMR, and it was a very, very close 16-14 game.
they didn't qualify though in the end, did they, Endpoint?
No, they lost like 3 times at the best of threes. They got so unlucky.
Almost the same as Astralis.
Almost,
They
yeah.
managed
They
to-
basically
Yeah,
did
nearly,
Astralis,
yeah.
but then didn't.
I feel like Fnatic have been together long enough now, though, behind the scenes, that this will be a reasonable showing of how they're going to perform generally in terms of how their strength's going to be.
I really like the roster. Like that's the one thing that I can say about this team at the minute. I like Roy, I like Nicodemus. Crims is still putting up numbers despite, what's it, like 8 years or something he's been in that roster now, if you don't count his little stint with Godsent. Mezzi is my main concern as an IGL. I like him as a player. I think he puts up good numbers, but will he be able to frag and IGL? I don't know if he's wasted in that role.
He thinks he can, because we were talking about him on the podcast, and because like the original concern when he went to Sweden for the Pinnacle Cup, he said like, "Oh, I still want to be able to frag," and he didn't. So it was already like okay, he wants to frag but can't. And then we saw him in like some of the online tournaments do a little bit better. And then he as well was saying like, I'm a lot more comfortable, because they changed a lot of roles when they came in with all the players. So I think for him, he had a big shift of like basically restarting his place in the team. And now he seems like he's a lot more confident, which is good. And that's why I think all of us have him in our fantasy team.
Almost all of us.
Almost all of us.
Yeah.
I just think the IGL decision's really confusing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like him as a player. I want it to work because I think this Fnatic roster looks good as a new international lineup. But I don't know if they should have just brought in a new IGL.
It almost does
Blending
make
around.
sense a little bit though, because like Fnatic know him as well, and like they
Yeah.
wouldn't promote him to IGL if they didn't trust him. And he's working with Keita a lot, and they've known each other since they were like both born. And he was also he was always talking about how he was a strong second voice in the team before. And then what's good about that is that then he's kind of been replaced by Roy now. So Roy's their second cooler, and he's literally, I think Mezzi literally said like a quote, "He's IGL's dream."
Right, okay. So he's the equivalent of what, Navi's going to be having with the likes of Simple sitting there and the amount of experience that he's got backed behind him.
Yeah,
I think it's different, but yeah.
I think Mezzi has been quite a dynamic player just over his career anyway. Like, he's done so many different roles regardless. And I think, just echoing what Freddie was saying, I think the idea of Fnatic was they were rebuilding the team around Crims and Mezzi anyway. So it's a long-term project in mind. I think the signings that they've gone and got have been really well thought out. They needed an AWP. I think that's always been the crux of Mezzi within his teams, is he's never really, especially more towards like tier 1, right? There's never been a consistent AWPer that he's had on that roster. And well, now you've got Nikodos, who has proved at the top level. He's really good, really reliable. You've got Roy, who's really I'm a big fan of Roy. I think he's very good, and he can be quite consistent as well at the best of times. And you go in, you pick up a person that's doing really well in tier 2, such as Fasher. I feel like it has the ingredients to work out. It's just, I understand the concerns they're coming from, but because we haven't really seen them at kind of this level of play, we haven't seen them on LAN. Everyone's kind of got their concerns, but I'm really interested to see how it will work out. I think it's a really exciting roster. I think it's the first time in a while that Fnatic can be kind of excited about what that team can produce.
We're talking about Fasher, so I was going to say the only thing that doesn't make sense is Fasher's roles, because I don't know what he's playing,
agree with
and
that,
I can't figure out what he's doing, because he's a star player, and the reason why they had a player that was going to come in and he didn't was because they were putting him in bitch player roles.
Right.
So like, if they were doing that originally, what's changed? Is Fasher playing bitch roles, which I like, surely not, right?
You'd hope not.
No,
You'd hope it'd be Crims.
Yeah.
But then they would have had to change up like a lot about that stuff then, because if they
had the
originally
time
were
for
looking, actually they have had a lot of time, haven't they?
Crims might be moving into a more of a Olofmeister arc with like his career. He's going
That would
more
make
for
sense.
Would you say that Nikodos is probably the best AWPer in Denmark right now?
What other AWPers are there in Denmark? Device?
S-Tag.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you've got
Device comes back.
You've got the likes of S-Tag, and Device is currently out of the scene. Besides that, Cadian, Farley.
Who's the tricked AWPer? Can't remember. Is it Quez? No.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's got to be.
I mean, does
Canadian and Nikodos, right?
Does Wolfie count as Danish? Because like he lives and speaks Danish.
Oh,
lucky.
I still wouldn't put them on the same level as Nikodos.
I mean, Wolfie would be on like he is like if you're looking at like Fasher and Wolfie, like they've got the exact same experience stuff like that. So I don't know.
I mean, they've got Fnatic have got the third best AWPer in the group behind Na'Vi and Vitality, right?
Oh yeah, but when you go into a group with Simple and Zai, we win the best two players in the world.
But obviously they're outliers.
Yeah.
So like outside of that, I'd say they've got the best AWPer in the group.
But would you?
What is wonderful AWPing on Spirit?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
He is unreal.
Would you put them third? Yeah. Well, would you put Nikodos third if Dexter was still playing for Spirit?
No,
100%
not.
Do you think that Spirit is going to do as well because of, with the addition of Wonderful over Dexter? Do you think they would have potentially grabbed the third or second spot in this group if they had Dexter?
I don't see this team playing well short term, just because Wonderful is unreal, and I think he will probably be one of the best players in the world at one stage. Not now.
I agree with that. I think that Dexter, I mean, you can already see the improvements it's brought to OG. They managed to qualify at Blast. They went through and beat teams that they just shouldn't have beaten. I mean, they took down FaZe.
Yeah, 2-1 on FaZe.
And they just, I don't know if they would have done that with Mantu for starters. I think it's a completely different style, and the confidence that Dexter has is something that would really have helped against a team like Na'Vi or Vitality.
Mantu's more of a support playing AWPer, isn't he? He's more like an old Skadoodle. There's very much a lot of utility going out and not a lot of shooting people.
And
Mantu shoots people?
There you go. That's the one.
Do you think Endpoint will get any wins?
Yeah.
If Nerds drops 35?
Is that their win
I reckon
condition?
they beat Spirit.
Yeah.
I see with Spirit, it's an odd one because it all depends on if Magix performs. Because Patsy right now is their star player. I think he's the guy who's consistently putting up numbers for the team, and then you have to hope that Wonderful's going to kind of replicate the impact that Dexter had. I think that they're going to be confident going into this group with an unknown Fnatic and Endpoint also having just picked up Kirby, and it's kind of unknown of how they're going to perform, especially because they haven't made the RMR. There's probably going to be quite a lot of confidence there for the rest of the teams going up against them, even more than they would have already had. So
I feel like Kirby's been there a while now. They just haven't played a tier 1 event with them.
I feel that's the problem with Endpoint though. They do have
They don't
their
make
spots here, but it's the qualification process that they really struggle with. That
I mean, naturally, they are not a tier 1 team. Like, Crucial is not a tier 1 AWPer. You're pushing it as a tier 2 AWPer over him. And, like, everyone else struggles to frag when they come up against the best.
and Nip
Apart from Nerds.
Nip is another talking point in this group because, I mean, watching them at Blast, they struggled. They really did. They lost the vitality, and S-Tag just isn't a solid fifth for the AWP role.
He's just not really an AWPer.
Well, no, he just isn't an AWPer.
There you go.
It's a real struggle,
Didn't they?
especially as a Nip fan, watching them play and watching some of the shots that you see the AWPer miss. It's like you really need someone in there, and it's a shame that Device is the whole situation there. But
Well-
it concerns me in that group because I feel like a Fnatic or a Spirit has a solid chance of beating them if S-Tag is having a poor day, if Rez has a poor day, as he's so inconsistent, and Brodlin didn't even have that good a showing. It's just been the Hampus show.
Whereas
One of the big
consistency-
problems. I was saying, one of the big problems is like with AWPing is like, who do you replace them with? In Sweden, there's a big lack of AWPers and IGLs.
That's true.
So like NIP right now are in a position where it's like, what do we do? Like how I was talking this about something because Hampus in Sweden, people don't even, because I don't think he's always been an IGL. I think he came into this role and became like the IGL. So he's kind of like in forced position. A lot of people don't see him as a good IGL. And then you've got S-Tag on an inconsistent AWPer. But then like you look around, it's like, where do we go? Like, who do you go international? Do you change the squad? Like, I assume they're speaking English. I maybe like S-Tag might speak Danish. Like Swedish. The language is similar, so I don't know what's like happening there. But
I think when he first joined, he said he was learning Swedish.
yeah,
I think
like
a big pull for Brolan to join that roster was the fact that when Fnatic went international, he wasn't the biggest fan of it. Didn't really see the project in the same way, and wanted to speak and be in that Swedish team, which is why he went to NIP.
yeah. I mean, it's probably because he was playing with English players. That will probably do it.
I think
Draken.
that the rest of the talent is talent that they've already used in terms of an AWPer. I mean, it's Twists and Draken and Nork, and those players they've already gone through, and I don't really.
I think
see
Nork
them
was a
doing it
good
again.
decision. They just only got rid of him because they had Device, and they don't have
Who's-
Device anymore. So
Who does Nork play for now?
I don't know.
Good
I
question.
didn't.
I know.
Isn't he in a
Apex or
dispute
no?
with
Oh,
NIP now?
Yeah,
I
he's
think
on.
he
He's on.
is. Twist
He's on
is
the
on
Apex roster.
Finest.
Oh no, he
right?
just joined it. Yeah. Well, Twist isn't AWPing. Twist is he's playing like he's just a rifler.
Right. So he's just dropped that entirely. Draken's playing for Into the Breach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's just signed a new contract there.
They've been doing well at the tournaments they've been attending. They've
Again, still very early days, like honeymoon period. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully that can continue because they're literally our only hope and saviors. There's no one else.
Oh,
one
well,
pin, one pin.
there's one team in this group. Probably not
As I
going to do
said,
well.
There's no one
Already
else.
know. So I think it's very clear that Na'Vi are the favourites in this group. I think
Yeah.
I just feel like with Vitality adding a new player, Spinks looked really good. They look good at Blast. I think they're probably going to take the second spot here. But then the third spot still worries me. It's,
Go to anyone.
yeah, I feel like NIP need to have their players perform. It's Rez who's constantly inconsistent. Brolin didn't have a great showing at Blast. S-Tag just, he either goes off or, drops like 3 frags. It's the same for Plopsky. He had a good showing in the last few stages at Blast, but
That whole team has consistency.
I worry when Hampus, who's the IGL, is mainly like their top fragger. That shouldn't happen. So
It's
it
going to
could
be
go
a
anywhere.
Mezzy performance in Pro League.
Mm.
Replicating Hampus.
You think Mezzy is the condition for Fnatic to win as well? If he frags, then
He's
Definitely,
nowhere
a
near.
very important factor, but
He's not a win condition.
It's not a win condition.
do you think they have enough firepower without him performing?
Yeah,
Yes,
100%. Like you've got Fashion, Nikodos, Roy, Crimson's like a hand and a half, and then Mezzy also like will never do like bad.
I think they've got a
I
very
can-
solid spot for third place.
I can see Fnatic going through this group, honestly.
Yeah.
This is definitely the group of death, right?
Yes, I believe, unless you want to count Group C, which has Ents, Heroic, Astralis, Mouse, Complexity, and Heat, which
Yeah,
is a lot
that's
of
a good
average
group, yeah.
teams.
I mean, Heat is the same thing as like we have no idea. Mao's with the completely new roster.
Ents with Sumpires and Valde.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be unreal.
Yeah.
Like, just there's no question about that. Heroic and Astralis, like Heroic, obviously they're not bad. Astralis, are they gonna be good on land? Complexity.
Yeah, I think that group, in terms of like skill, I think they come a lot closer. I just think this group has a lot of upset potential in comparison to that group.
Yeah,
I think it's just the fact that it's like we're like, okay, first two probably, then who's going to be the rest? Like, it's very open in that stage, and like I see endpoint in that, and I just go, ooh, of all group they could have been in, they're in this one. Like, no.
I feel like if they were in that group seed, then they probably got a better chance. You know, they'd probably come quite close against Complexity, and the same for Mao's with the new additions, and maybe even Astralis if Astralis come in performing the way they did in the RMRs, but it's all up in the air for them.
Yeah. Group D is such a strange group I'm looking at.
Yeah, that group's odd.
That's Movi with who they pick up, Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez, I think. Who used to play for them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, I think.
Let me fact check that.
He was in Velox before that.
Oh yeah, no, he was in the Velox squad.
Yeah.
But like he played in Velox. He like played in like a mid-tier advanced team, and now he's playing on the 9th team in the world.
Are they still 9th?
Yeah,
Even with
still
the loss
9th.
of Sumpires?
Well, I don't think it's surprisingly enough not changed it that much.
Because
at all.
It was Cologne that they performed well, and
well, they did well in Dubai. They won. They won Valencia, top 4 Cologne. It was just like the back-to-back pretty much.
Yeah.
Like.
So I think Group A is a tough one, but if we look at the fantasy teams, and we look through,
can we look at Brandon's first?
You want to look at Brandon's first?
Just like I want to.
Okay.
I think it's a really strong roster, personally.
We've got Brandon's up on the screen. So you've got Nikodos, Brolan, who you've now changed to entry fragger over the multi-fragger.
I didn't realise it was a role on HLTV.
You've got Sumdai Young, Mezzi, and Dupree.
That's a great team. Big fraggers. We've got big fraggers.
An extremely average roster here.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Like, can you run me through the SDY pick as well, actually?
I don't get that.
Well, he didn't watch Blast, so maybe that's that.
I didn't watch Blast because we were at Insomnia, right? So like, I didn't see what happened at Blast.
I mean, he wasn't good. He's never been good on the Fnatic team.
I just think he's consistent. I like him. I think it's a good pickup for Na'Vi, and I was looking at
everyone's hoping that he has that same form he showed in the early days of Spirit, and I was a big fan of him in the early days of Spirit. He was always the guy that was fragging, kind of in that Blame F role when Blame F was flying through Complexity, and the same as he is now, kind of where he was always the top fragger and they still just lose games.
Well, I will agree with you. Like, great pickup by Na'Vi.
Yeah.
Super good pickup. But I wouldn't put him in my fancy team.
He looks uncomfortable in the role.
Just for some clarification, the way this works is you get given $1 million, and then you have to build your team, and each person is priced based on how they have performed within the last 3 months, I believe. So this isn't going to be completely accurate to what people would have picked. We all would have loved to have Simple and Zywoo in our team. It's just not affordable in the way the system works. So it's trying to budget your money and your team as best you can, so you don't have too many underperformers, but you want to have a decent score at the end. So
I think my team's good.
I actually don't mind your team. I like Nikodos in this. Brolan, I like... Dupree had decent tournament. I think he was the 3rd best performing player on Vitality at Blast.
That hard?
Probably not at the minute. Because
you've got Apex in a roster and you're saying, like, oh, he's one above him.
Well, he performed better than Magisk, and Magisk has been consistently the 2nd best player on that team, but you've now got Spinks in there, so I guess... I feel like with your team, you've got a lot of situations where... and when you look at my team, it's a similar situation. Vitality should just dominate some of these lower teams, especially now they've got Spinks. So I'm kind of hoping that the worst players on the roster will perform average, so that you'll get those points up. So I've got the same something in my roster with Apex in there, hoping that he won't perform as terribly as he did at Blast because he's playing against the likes of Endpoint and Spirit.
I think what you got to consider as well is when you do these fantasy teams, people can sit there for ages trying to dissect the stats. Freddie can sit on HLTV for about 9 hours trying to figure out the best formula to get the most amount of points. I picked players I liked and that I could afford. And that is how you should play fantasy as well if you want to join in at home. So make sure you can either do it that way or you can do it a way that I like to do. Just pick, players that you enjoy watching. I like watching Dupree. I like Sam Young. I won't tolerate this slander. I'm fed up.
I feel like that was very, very aimed.
It was.
So, are there any other players that you debated picking?
Yeah, some of them.
Could you just not afford the ones in the?
So, obviously, if I could have Spinks in there, I'd have Spinks in there, but I can't afford him. Hang on, can I edit this team? Not literally edit it, but just so I can see.
I don't think you can you? Like, if you buy it...
You can, if you click on the settings.
Settings, edit lineup. I just want to see what my budget was. So I have $2,000 remaining in the budget.
Same.
Which isn't a lot.
I tried putting Perfecto in there, but I couldn't fit him in.
Do you want Perfecto?
I have Perfecto in mind.
He's good,
really well
good money as well.
Yeah, it's $2,001.
I could actually get Perfecto.
$201,000 for Perfecto, I think, is a solid pickup. So this is like the average team, I think. Like, this is you picking players at a decent price who should perform, fairly averagely. On the other end of that spectrum, and we'll pull up Emu's team now, is someone who has spent all their money on the top players, and Mighty Max and Apex are the main standouts.
I've got 5 top players.
Well, have you got 3 IGLs?
Hey, I will purposely say that's meta right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's perfect.
Apart from Mighty Max.
It's obvious. I don't think you can reasonably go for simple because he's nearly worth a player and a quarter on this. You'll end up in a position where you've got 4 IGLs, not 3. Bit is consistently up there. His headshot percentage is, insane. And giving him headshot machine is a nice, easy bunch of points. I think Mighty Max is an outstanding. No, I've given him the noob role. So the worse he does, the more points I get. That's perfect. And he is set to be absolutely farmed by everybody. I think giving Apex leader is easier than giving Electronic leader because Electronic costs, again, a lot of money. And I think Vitality and Navi are going to win most of the games in this group. Hampus is probably the best player on NIP. So it doesn't even matter that he's an IGL. He's nice and cheap. He's got one of the best ratings on that team, if not the best. And his CT side's always really consistent. And his T side's always out the window because he's running about creating space. So giving him CT side defender booster is probably the best.
Hampus is definitely the best option in terms of money. I think across the entire thing, I think it's $195,000. And
he's always positive.
You've got a consistent fragger there for, less than the average amount. So I think that's a solid pick. When you pick Zywoo up, use 230,000. You have to make the sacrifices, and Mighty Max is my concern for your team.
Head sacrifice.
He's got the noob tag. The worse he does, the more points I get.
With the noob role, it only can even out as long as he doesn't perform too poorly.
Yeah. Well, Endpoint are going to win at least 2 or 3 games.
Will they?
Would you like to
2 or 3 games? So 2 or 3 games gets you to like.
You talk about maps or best of 3s?
I'm making my bold prediction. Endpoint beat Fnatic, and they take a map off Ninjas in Pajamas.
I mean, that's just not going to happen.
I'm convinced.
I love how analytical you went for your entire team. then you make that statement, and then I don't know. There's a lot of analysis went into your team, and I've just gone. Yeah.
Does he really know anything?
I like Bezzy. I hit those.
I can't sit here and believe that you actually think that's going to happen. That is absurd.
Actually outrageous.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
I think they'll beat Fnatic.
You genuinely think they'll beat Fnatic?
Yeah. They struggled in a best of 1 against them, and that's the only opportunity they'll have to do well against them.
If they beat Fnatic, and when we regroup to do this for Group B,
I will come and kiss you.
Yeah, there is no way.
I will propose to you because you are the smartest man on earth.
It's the only game they will win. But
I don't think they get a single win in this group. I think they might get a map or two.
I honestly think their best chance is against Spirit.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, but then Spirit equally, like we're saying, Spirit could come out the doors being like the next. Like they could just continue in their same format because they lost Dexter, but they've still got a good team. They've still got a good basis. I just want Chopper to wind back the years. I want the 5 Mac 10s running up, connected on overpass. Like I want us to bring back the good old times.
I see that Fnatic and Spirit for me are fairly even. I think Spirit, obviously, with the performance they had at the major, was really good. But I don't know if they can replicate the performance without such an impactful player, which is why
it really depends.
It concerns me.
It really depends for me. How much is Dexter saying, I need to go here and take this shot? Or, how much of this, how much of it is he leading himself? Is he going, I think there's an opportunity here. Can I go and take this peak? Or can we go and play around this? Because I think this is where this AWP is going to react. Or is he very much of a AWP that sat there going, yeah, tell me what to do? Because if he's been a lot of the, reasoning behind where he's going, and he gets to pick that, and he's leading himself in a way, like he's sort of guiding the IGL with that, rather than just being told where to go. Bringing someone like Wonderful, who's got a lot less experience, is going to change that dynamic entirely. He's going to have to be a bit more manhandled potentially in terms of where are you going, where are you playing, how are you going to use the AWP, and how he's going to fit into the roster. He might have less of an identity in that sense, especially at a tier 1 event such as this. That's my worry for.
I definitely think that them and Fnatic are the best upset potential in this group. But yeah, should we?
I think as well that they'll, with that, just building on from that though, is like Chopper's been around for so long. He's going to have a clear set of principles he wants to instill in that Spirit team. Everyone has been adapting to that now. They took a gamble when they upgraded Siren and Patsy to that roster, and it has paid off. I think the biggest thing Spirit need is time. And then because Dexter, when he came on that roster immediately, he had a great event. I think I remember out the start, he had a really good event, and then he slowed for a period, and that team just kind of was going through that rebuild phase, transition phase. Then they came out a lot stronger because of it. So I think Spirit, I think they just need to cook a little bit, have a little bit of time, and then they will step up. Because I agree with what Freddie said earlier. Just Wonderful is a very good player and has a lot of potential.
I mean, also looking at their past people they've had in the roster, you look at every single player that's played for Spirit, they've turned out to be unreal. I don't know what these guys do. They just pump out talents. It's just consistent. So if you're gonna Chiron, who they played for, has now just made the RMR as well. It's stuff like that. You've just got these random Russian players they bring in, and they turn out to be the best players in the world in 2 years' time. So I believe in the Spirit supremacy personally.
I think they'll do well. They definitely have the chance to take the 3rd place spot. I don't think they'll take 2nd place. I think that's a bit too much to ask from them with how young the roster is now, with Wonderful only just joining. And I played with him in a pug recently, and he dropped me his AWP, so I'm a bit worried if
he's a nice guy.
If it's a confidence issue, but maybe I should
nice guy.
him.
I mean, there's no way he's not going to be confident in a 2K pug.
I mean, he dropped me the AWP, so I'm just saying, maybe there was something there. Maybe he saw something in me, and I should be on the next endpoint roster replacing Crucial. Maybe, just saying. But my DM's are open, endpoint. All right, let's look at Freddy's roster. And
before we start, I want to put the jacket on just to show that I really am smart. The Pinnacle jacket.
Representing the league.
Represent the Pinnacle jacket. Very small, doesn't really fit me, but you know what? We're here.
So, talk us through your team.
Right. I feel like I've made a massive mistake because I've added Defender for Mezzi because it had a high percentage. Then I realised his stats are super inflated because he's played against shitters for the past 2 months. And also he's playing in the new role, so that's going to be fun. Apex is trash, so noob. Nuts is the only hope that Endpoint have of doing anything. So, multi-fragger, I guess. Roland is actually good at the game. He's a good entry fragger. Sick. Electronic, he's going to win all his games. He's a good player. Sick. Everyone is not too expensive. I should be getting points of everyone, I think. I think Mezzi's a bit of a trump card. I think he's being slept on in this. I think he's actually going to not do too badly. I think he'll be the surprise. He'll actually get me a lot of points. And as long as Endpoint don't just crash and burn, even if they do, Nerds is probably still going to do well. I think I've actually got it's not awful. I think it's all right.
I think the Messi pickup is a good one, but I think he was like 199,000, so he's like barely scraping the the average price that you need. So I think if he was cheaper, then I probably would have considered him a lot more. And I feel like that's going to be the case for the majority of people that aren't from the UK.
I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at this now. If I boot him out, I can get Perfecto.
Yeah, I feel like and that's an obvious choice.
That seems like a much better idea, doesn't it?
I feel like with the Messi lovers, I feel like Messi is for that price is too much of a gamble when for 2,000 more you can buy a Perfecto.
I mean, because I actually can buy Perfecto. So do I? Oh, I'm in a predicament now.
Nah, it's the debate.
Generally, if I'm buying into something that expensive, I like to see it work before I spend my money.
You know what? I believe in the Messi pick. Fuck all of you. He's gonna win.
You can't change the graphic anyway, mate. It's done.
Yeah,
The
it's
graphic's done.
it's done. It's done.
We'll draw over it quick.
Draw over with like a. I also think Electronic just looks so terrified in his picture. Like he looks startled. he just looks so he looks so confused of like what's happening. It just kind of made me laugh, and I was like, I have to pick him up.
Brilliant. I'm scared
So-
right before the picture was taken.
Nertz was what, under 200,000? Is he just under? I think.
maybe.
I imagine so.
Let me check. I mean,
Because for me,
he's
that's also.
198, so he's.
I agree that
cheaper.
he is Endpoint's best player and is the most likely person on that roster to frag, but like when you compare that to having enough money there for Hampus or someone else.
Surely I wouldn't replace him with Hampus now. Like I think Nertz is gonna. I think he's gonna he's consistently all right, and I feel like he's actually gonna pop off against this. Like he's basically Flames at this stage. Like the Endpoint of finding these talents, picking them up, making them good, and then getting poached. It's gonna happen to Nertz, and I think he's gonna be a sick player.
Do you think he'll perform if they do get stomped in the majority of their matchups though?
Well, he's the only player I look at that will perform if they do get stomped. Like I don't look at the other players and think that like they are going to shoot back. So unless they literally get 16-2 every single game, I still feel like we will see something. And like even so, like for instance, when they played Fnatic, Nertz was the player that was playing well, and he was like throughout the RMRs as well. Like apart from the odd stints here and there, he was pretty consistent. With only like,
Do you not think Kiebi will do well?
yeah, I think he'll do well. I think Nertz will do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kirby will do up, but yeah, I agree with.
I don't think Kiebi will do the same. Like I think you're looking at Kiebi of being like he goes like 20 to 20 every game. Like he's like a consistent like 1 rating, and like he's a very like good player like in his position. But like I just don't see this team with enough firepower as well. That's the only problem. Nertz is like the only player that really provides like a sufficient amount.
I agree. I feel like if they're gonna win any games, I feel like it is with him at the helm of that.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I think his return, his risk to return value is very good. But
Hopefully, anyway.
I do like your team. I think so
Shit, I need to
far,
check in.
I think it's the best team that we've
Don't
seen.
say that to him.
No.
I think Brandon's is a very safe pick, and I like that you've gone with players that you like.
What?
Yeah. Yours is very statistical,
Easy.
but I do like Messi. I like Brolin. Electronic's good there, and I think saving that money with an Apex pick is a good idea. I'm only saying that because we'll take a look at my team now.
So what you're saying is your bias.
Also, Brandon, check in.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So my team here, I've gone with Perfecto, Bit, Brolin, Hampus, and Apex. Originally,
I can see why you were like, pick up Hampus, and I was like, no.
I think he's too good for the value there. He's consistently nips top fragger. He has a very consistent CT side, and for 195,000, I feel like he's just gonna give you great returns. I feel like Perfecto 201,000 as well. Him and Bit were the best 2 performing players, if you don't count Simple's little stint after playing 1 game with them. Perfecto had a really good tournament. So I feel like those 2, I would have taken Electronic, but I feel like Perfecto is much more likely to give me the returns for an extra 3,000 than Electronic would. Brolin as well. it was mainly because I had the money left over. I wanted to pick up Apex just because if they're playing against these Fnatic, Spirit, and Endpoint, and it's a bit more unknown, how bad can he do? I know that's a gamble there, but in my mind, how bad can he really perform against these teams? And if I give him the leader role and Vitality win anyway, then he's going to get a lot of points back based on that. And I just had like 212,000 or something left over, and I thought, well, I may as well spend it on Brolin because that's there. I was going to pick up Patsy instead, but I feel like Brolin's got a lot more potential in terms of winning games. And if he does win games, it's because of him or Rez usually, if Hampus isn't already popping off. So that's my justification.
Brolin has like really on days and then really off days from watching him.
Yeah.
Eye test wise, he seems to be frustrated. And then when he gets frustrated, then it's done.
I feel like it's just Swedish Counter-Strike as a whole. They're very emotional. And that's what impacts them. You saw it at the major when they started losing to FaZe in the quarterfinals.
He's upset, and then he seems to just not fight for the rest of the map.
They lost so many rounds on the T side that they just lost it and they couldn't bring it back. But I don't feel like it's going to be too much of an issue here. I think Na'Vi, they're going to go into that expecting it to be a very tough game and probably not expecting a win. Vitality, they know they can win that game if everyone performs. And then the other three fixtures here, they also know that they can win. I don't think it's a bad choice to have Brolin in there and Hampus in there. It's definitely worth having two Na'Vi players. And then it was just the spot of either having Apex or Mighty Max or was it Crucial? Or was
Mighty Max.
He was in that low tier money bracket. So yeah, that's my team.
Oh, I will say I tried to get Patsy in mine as well, but I just couldn't do it.
My issue always is with this is because he was 206,000 and I had like 6k left over after I had him. I'm like, I want to spend that extra 6k. It feels like such a waste, but I couldn't find anywhere to invest it because I was always like 1,000 off or something like that. So I was really struggling to like invest him into my team with sitting with like that much money left over.
I understand why you've been saying, oh yeah, I like this pick. Oh, that's a good pick.
Save mine till last.
Because you picked all the players you said you liked.
I don't know what you're on about. My team is completely unbalanced.
I'm going last next time, so I went first.
To be fair, I have seen that team. And I have seen your team and just gone, shit, that's a good team, isn't it?
I have my team was almost like Spinks, Bit, Perfecto, Magisk, and then I think I had like Mighty Max. But I think I preferred this roster. I think it's a lot more well-rounded. I think the roles fit a lot better as well than what I would have had there. So yeah, I think that is my team. I think
played boring.
Well, I do like your team. I just think it's very average. But we'll see how
oh wow,
do.
Yeah, Brandon, you're average.
You have a very average team.
That's fine.
We'll see. You're probably gonna beat me now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But
I hope so.
yes,
we're doing like a point system for this, like throughout.
Throughout, we can do that.
The group stage, is there going to be a forfeit for the loser? Because if so, I might need to get my notebook out and just.
We can come up with one between now and then, depending on if I lose the first stage, and then we'll decide not to do the forfeit.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Freddie shaves his hair off.
Yeah, loser goes bald. All for Pinnacle.
Why is that ever?
Emu's shaking with the Mighty Max pick.
We have.
I'd like to make some changes.
You can't. It's locked in.
It's locked in.
I'm going through all these like picks things like the boosters. I just don't even know what I'm doing with them. I'm just randomly. I just randomly clicked them around and went, these look like they have high percentages.
So
I might be alright actually.
In regards to the boost for anyone else that's looking to join the league, I think we currently got around 40 people in the league. The more people we get in, the better. It just makes it more competitive. And you can do that with the link that will be in the description. But the boosters are all to do with, will people drop like 30 frags? Will someone get a knife kill? Will they get 5 assists? Will they trade 5 times? It's that kind of thing. So you're really doing it on a game by game basis of, do you think this player's going to pop off in this game? So I might put 30 kills on Bit against Endpoint or something like that. So we'll have to basically apply them.
Do pre-30 bomb against Endpoint.
Do pre-30 bomb.
You know what? I see that.
He's rolling back the years. The Deagle Ace.
Electronic versus Vitality 30 bomb. That happens.
See, he has been performing well, especially after transitioning to the IGL role, which is a bit surprising for me that he's kind of not lost his level after.
Well, I think like he has IGL before, and I think it's like he's not got like I think it's a good team to IGL win with like Blade.
Yeah, I think Blade does a lot of that work.
Yeah, and then like Simple as well. Like it's not a, it's a, you've got good pieces to the project. I think.
Yeah.
I'll call you when Endpoint win their first game.
So yeah, this has been our fantasy team. It's been our preview of the event. If you'd like to join, there's going to be a link in the description. Check out these guys on Twitter. And Brandon and Freddie, what are you guys up to in terms of streaming for your casting?
We're casting today, which is Tuesday, and then Saturday, and then I fly back to Ireland next Monday. So kind of chilling.
Nice. So yeah,
got some bits coming up. Can't announce anything just yet, but
we are that secret guest at ESL Pro League. We are literally in Malta. We are in Malta right now.
You'll be taped to each other, just walking around the event.
We're in Malta right now.
we're not.
But yeah, be sure to check these guys out and their casting. And yeah, thank you for watching.